folks, welcome to Saturday Morning Samoflange. My name is Matt.
My name is Mikey.
And I'm Ric Flair.
Woo! The Nature Boy.
Well, I can't believe we have the Nature Boy in here. His lovely blonde locks, too. Just totally giving it away. But please, put a shirt on.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, we have a great episode to talk about here today. But first, we're going to answer the one question that we got.
Before you do that, Matt,
Okay.
I would like to say one thing.
Sure.
It appears to me that there's another podcast out there that likes to talk about science fiction and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really sure if one of the people on the show really knows much about science fiction. I'm just going to give you a little reference point here.
Sure.
I'll keep the name of the podcast to myself because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but there was a gentleman that mentioned a movie, Sharktopus, but then he just let it go. And I thought, well, if you're a podcast that talks about science fiction, you could have at least said something to your listeners about this is a 2010 sci-fi original movie produced by Roger Corman and starring Eric Roberts, who is Julia Roberts' brother and star of Best of the Best. This is a movie about a U.S. Navy who genetically engineers a half shark and a half octopus for combat. But eventually they have to blow it up because it eats too many beachgoers. Now, it was so popular that they made 2 sequels, Sharktopus versus Terracuda. Ooh, Terracuda. And then Sharktopus versus Mermantula. But I would suspect that maybe that host could have just been drinking too much beer instead of giving science fiction notes. So
Perhaps so. So I think I know the podcast you're talking about, right?
do you?
Is it Princess of the Universe?
Yes,
Wait,
it's
did
Princes of the
Did
Universe.
you say Princess of the Universe or Princes?
Princes.
Oh.
Yeah, those guys.
Oh, okay. Is it Princess? It could have been Princess.
I don't know, but they're jackasses, both of them. Anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with our question here. It's, do we watch Persons of Interest? We did talk about TV shows last week.
Yes, we did.
And one of the things we didn't mention was Persons of Interest. And that's because I have never seen it. Flair?
I've never seen it.
No.
The Nature Boy has never seen it. I have watched it. I've watched the first 2 seasons of it. I think it's on, season 4 now or something?
Because only nerds watch it.
Woo! Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. Like, it's Jim Caviezel, and I can't think of the guy's name, but he was Ben from Lost. And it's pretty good. I mean, it's an interesting. It's kind of one of those. CBS does these shows that are like these one kind of the freak of the week, old Smallville type cases, what I call them, where it's a CSI. They have to figure out a case each week. It's a crime procedural, if you will. But it was pretty good. I mean, it had a neat premise, and it's got some good acting.
Well, good question. Thanks for your question. Please put many more. Remember, we're taking a week in between before answering questions. So the next time we answer questions, it'll be for episode 2. We're just trying to give you plenty of time to ask your questions. Folks, today we're going to talk about the best and worst sequels to movies ever. We have each prepared a top 5 list.
Yes.
Flair and Mikey have put theirs in order from 5 to 1.
Can I be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat now?
You be Vader.
It's Vader time.
Vader time!
Go ahead.
You can't be the styling, profiling, limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling, dealing son of a gun. Only Ric Flair. Woo!
It's Vader time.
Hogan! Okay, all right.
I don't even know why we're even doing. Well, save this for the wrestling episode, guys.
No, there will be a wrestling episode.
There will be a wrestling
Absolutely.
show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
keep listening.
Anyway, so we prepared our top 5. Mine, however, are not in order. I did not know we were putting them in order. I should have known that. That should have been better. But looking at these, I don't know how to put
Who
them in
does
order.
not put a top 5 list in order?
I can't.
Like
I
you
can't
can't.
think
Like, do you
about
not have
that.
a flair for the dramatic?
It's ambiguous at best.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like, that's not in your blood.
I'm waiting for him to say woo.
Woo! Not even like the count.
So you're
My
the-
first one. 1.
Yours are not in order at all. Yours are just these are your 5 favorites.
5 favorites just overall because of
Number
different
2.
genres, and it's kind of hard to declare which one was better than the last. Now, our definition of best sequel.
Yeah, this is what we're doing.
Doesn't mean it has to be just a great sequel. It has to be actually better than the original movie.
Right.
Because only that sequel would be considered the best sequel.
Right.
And we're going to go around Robin here, I suppose.
Yeah.
And Mikey, I will let you go first.
Oh, the ball's in my court. If we're going to go best sequels, better than the original, starting with my number 5 is Rambo First Blood Part 2. Absolutely. I see the looks of both of y'all's eyes right now, and you're like, yep, why didn't I think of that? Because
that's a good one.
It is better in every way than the original. It's a completely different type of movie. The original is kind of more of a drama and kind of almost like a social experiment on the Vietnam War and the effects of war veterans at that time.
Well, every case with a sequel like this, it's hard because you have to establish your character first.
Yeah.
And you have to do a lot of time character building. You can't get into the action as well. So,
right.
In cases like that, which First Blood, by the way, is a great movie.
I thought it was great too.
But First Blood 2 is even better because it jumps off of that and goes even further.
And you know why it's better for us dudes? Because it just takes all that crappy story out of the way and just gets straight to him blowing things up with explosive arrows.
Yes.
Ric Flair versus Rambo.
Right on.
There's not a ring big enough, gentlemen.
So my number 5, Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Okay. Ric Flair?
My first one
yes.
is, oh boy.
Your number 5, if you will.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Number 5 is going to be Predator 2.
Mm.
Now, the thing is...
Wow.
The thing is...
Better than the original.
To me, it's subjective. With all these conversations, they're subjective. But, oh my God, Predator 2.
Well, there's
fantastic.
subjectivity, and then there's dumbassery.
Are you going to say Predator 2 is number 5 is dumbassery?
Yeah, I'm going to say that there's no way, even though I think Predator 2 is incredible, there's no way anybody on this planet besides you, Ric Flair, would say it's better than the original.
Hold on, though. I want to hear his reasoning.
Yeah.
Before I make any judgments, you go ahead and tell me why.
Defend it.
It was much more desperate than the first.
Meaning?
There was more, he was on Earth. He was chasing Danny Glover through the factory. It was... You had number 2 had a lot more elements to keep you in suspense more because Danny Glover was ill-equipped to handle this Predator son of a gun.
You lost me at Danny Glover. I can't remember what was the rest of the
the whole time I'm sitting here thinking, okay, Danny Glover versus Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, I'll agree with Danny Glover would be ill-equipped and Schwarzenegger is very equipped with those biceps and that
That's what I'm saying. And it's not a shot against Danny Glover in the least. It's just that when you see, and we already knew what Arnold Schwarzenegger was. We knew the outcome. We knew how tough that Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be against a Predator, and we knew he was going to win. Danny Glover becomes the champion of the human race according to the Predator.
Never thought I would hear that.
And it's not just because it's Danny Glover. It's just because when I thought, okay, I saw Predator, action movie. Who are they going to? Predator 2's got to be Arnold. Now, I wasn't alive when these first came out, but I remember watching them and not knowing anything about it. And
you were alive when it came out.
Not enough to know what's going on. I watched all the Predator series again when I was a little bit older with my dad, and we kind of went through them. But Predator 2, I did not expect. I expected an Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Stallone.
Mm-hmm.
And
not
to me,
Danny Glover.
Not Danny Glover.
Yeah.
That's not to say Lethal Weapon isn't an awesome series. But against the Predator, I don't know. To me, Predator 2 had more bang for the buck.
I would tell you I didn't hate Predator 2. I think it's the worst of the series. But the reason for Predator 2 would also be you got to see more of the Predator. You got to see more of his items, what weapons he used. You got to know more about the Predator in that one. Plus, of course, who can forget the alien skull on his ship, which was super
awesome.
cool,
yes.
which started rumors for years.
Yes. That
was all you talked about was aliens versus Predator when we were kids. Mm-hmm. Just like when, what was it, Jason Goes to Hell?
Oh,
when
yeah.
Freddy Krueger's claw comes up and grabs the
mask.
Then for years, everyone talked about Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Those started conversations for every kid in America.
It did.
So for that reason, there are some points for Predator 2.
That's what I'm saying.
don't agree with it.
I think it's underrated. It is an underrated movie.
Predator is good guy versus bad guy. Predator 2 is like, it's the major underdog story. It's awesome.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
All right, so I'll go with mine. And since he said Predator, of course, I'm going to say it. Aliens.
Yes.
That beats the original,
sure.
which I love the original.
Oh, yeah.
I love the original by Ridley Scott, but Aliens You could actually redo that. In fact, I told the missus that if they were to make a movie where they reclone all those Marines and send them back on a planet and just do the whole story all over again, I would watch Bill Paxton say once more, "We're all gonna die, man. We're all gonna die.
Game over, man.
Game over, man. Game over."
It's a great movie.
I love everything about that movie. It is far superior than the rest of them. It is a great movie. Aliens is definitely on my list.
It's on my honorable mention. I had some honorable mentions.
Honorable mention.
Yeah, man. Like it's now Alien. Now this doesn't take anything away from Alien. It's kind of a case like Rambo where 1 and 2 are two completely different types of movies. I mean, 1 is one of the most suspenseful movies I've ever seen. Like still to this day, even though I know that the alien is going to pop out of that chest, that scene is about as intense a scene you can ever get. But then when you get to Aliens, it's the same thing as Rambo 2. Like, it's just a lot more action. It just kind of dudes it up some more.
And again, the first one is introducing the character.
Yeah.
In this case, which would be the alien.
Right.
You know? And then it
and Ridley.
even further into and Ripley, yeah. So it's a well done movie, but the sequel, even better.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, go ahead, Mikey.
Number 4. Number 4 on my list, The Raid 2. Didn't think about that one neither, did you?
Holy crap, that movie.
That movie. If anybody out there has never seen The Raid Redemption, which is the first one, or The Raid 2, watch them. Both of them are incredible. Some of the best action movies you will ever see. But as good as the first one is, the second one takes everything that the first one was and just
levels it up.
I mean, it's incredible. Like they're Indonesian movies, but they're like the pride of that country.
Oh my god.
And it is about 2.5 hours long, and it's action, martial arts, drama, crime drama, kind of got this horror suspense element. Like it's everything you could ever want. And it's art house, like all of that, and put on top of an art house movie with like this impeccable direction. And it was written and directed by the same guy, so it has that type of feel of you know, this guy had an idea and he didn't have a big studio that was going to come and change his ideas. He got to make the movie or movies really that he wanted to make. And I swear to you, like you will never like sit in front of an action movie. Like it blows almost every single American action movie away.
It really does.
Just in its intensity, its rawness, its honesty, and just how well it's made overall.
And when it's so funny you talk about the art house feature. It's because a lot of people will watch Raid 2 just for the action, but when you look at how the scenes are shot and the colors they chose to use, not only what the actors are wearing to match the overall surroundings and just the whole, they thought of everything.
They did.
And a little comment on the Raid 2, they use a martial art known as Pencak Silat, and it is one of the most brutal martial arts. And Pencak Silat has two styles. You have the stylized kind of art form with kata, and then the second form, which is more of the I'm going to kill you with everything I have.
Yeah, it's indigenous to that area where they made that.
So if you get time to Google Pencak Silat, do it because it's
awesome,
really
man.
great to watch.
Wow. Okay.
So that's my number 4.
That's a great one.
Fantastic. Number 4. Okay. Number 4 for me is going to be Spider-Man 2. The Raimi Spider-Man 2.
I agree. That was on my honorable mention.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah.
I remember when I first watched Spider-Man, the first Raimi Spider-Man, I had a trampoline. I was like 14, and I was out there pretend web slinging. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was a great, movie experience for me with Spider-Man 1. But then Spider-Man 2 comes out. He had a bigger budget. He had more things going on. Wonderful actors playing. You got Doc Ock.
Yeah, Doc Ock was incredible.
You have
Alfred
to
Molina was good as that because you feel bad for him.
You really do.
And that's a good villain when you can empathize with a villain.
When you can empathize, that's exactly
it makes a movie better.
And then they had that chase scene, that brilliant chase scene when he was going all through the city on the train.
Yes.
And that movie had everything for me. One of my most memorable theater experiences, actually, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, as Matt said in previous, the first one introduced the characters, and the second one was just like, all right, we're going to take this great foundation and go with it.
And I'm about to disagree with Flair again.
Yes.
No, I would not. I know I'm going to get a chop.
You're going to get
you disagree with both of us because that I love that movie.
Okay. Spider-Man 2 is fine, but it has a huge. I did not like at the end where he's running around fighting crime without his mask on. Half of New York sees him, and no one does a sketch to find out who he is. And you think he'd be a little bit more. I don't know.
Well, my response to that is
that's a huge plot hole.
My response to that is this. If you remember, Spider-Man the first one from the Raimi Spider-Man, came out in 2001, and that was shortly after the World Trade Center disasters. Now, he was kind of using Spider-Man as a kind of rallying New York around.
I know what he was doing, but
and so
everyone
Spider-Man 2
knew who he was.
At the end of Spider-Man 1, they said, hey, you pick on one of us New Yorkers, you pick on all of us. So then Spider-Man 2 comes around, they see his face, hey, we ain't telling nobody, you're a New Yorker like us, we gotta stick together. So I think I see that angle he was coming from, but from your perspective, yeah, I do see, he revealed himself, but
there's a few things I learned as a kid. So you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit into the wind, you don't pull the mask off the old Lone Ranger. Now, why is that? Because you're going to reveal his identity. So you never reveal something, especially to the city. It's okay if Batman reveals it to every woman he brings down to the Batcave. But it's different when you're walking around the whole city and they're carrying him in that one scene across the thing and everyone can get a good look at his face. I just did not like that.
I know what you're saying, but I'm thinking, Spider-Man was a symbol of the time for New York.
I've never even thought about that, really, to be honest with you. Like, I've seen that movie a bunch of times, but I guess maybe when I was watching it, I just thought, that just fit with the story. It made it a little bit more epic. It made him one of the people. I can see where you're coming from now that you mentioned it, like all these years later, of kind of like, yeah, but since then, though, we've had the whole Civil War thing, and we've kind of seen how it, they wanted it to be done anyway. But, I mean, it's suspension of disbelief. I mean, we've got a guy swinging around because he got bit by a radioactive spider, so I guess I don't really worry about that stuff too much.
Okay, it was just me.
No, I get it.
Sorry,
it is just you.
I'm going to agree with Flair on one of these. I'm sure I am. But right now,
you're going to get chest slapped before this podcast.
You're just a Marvel hater. He's got on a Batman shirt right now.
I guess.
He's just wanting to hate on Spidey.
Okay, my next one.
Your number 3
is actually going to be Terminator 2.
Oh.
And again, the original, classic, great, excellent, nothing wrong with it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But, Mikey, you know where you were in theaters when you first saw Terminator 2.
Yeah,
correct?
You know what? As a matter of fact, I was not able to see Terminator 2 in theaters. No, I'm dead serious.
That blows my mind.
I've seen it later in theaters since then, but it came out in 91, so its original run I was 12. So I don't think I'm pretty sure I did not get to see it then. But since then, I've seen it in a big screen somewhere. I don't remember where. But yeah, it's...
My dad took me while we were on vacation in Mobile, Alabama, and I was blown away. That movie was incredible. That was the movie you sat around on your bikes in the neighborhood, just parked there talking about how friggin' awesome Terminator 2 was.
I couldn't agree more.
That movie it took a step up. It took the whole liquid Terminator was something kind of new.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Abyss had first taken that technology and worked it well within the film. But Terminator 2 just made it work, and it looks so good back then.
Incredible.
And the acting is good, the scene is good, and as I said before, the moons aligned in that movie because the script was great, directing was great. Guns N' Roses does the music video, and nothing is wrong with that movie.
Young John Connor on a dirt bike.
There is nothing wrong with that movie at all.
With what is his name? Budkiss, or what is his name from Salute Your Shorts on the back.
As a kid, you were John Connor.
Yeah.
And you needed your own Terminator. I mean, it was perfect. It
As
resonated with audiences. Linda Hamilton, unbelievable.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you drink a can of Coke and you put it on the ground and run over it with your bicycle and let it get caught in the reflector, it sounds like a dirt bike, and you too can be John Connor.
I remember when I was watching that movie when I was probably like 14 on VHS, and I paused it. This is just a piggyback on your John Connor comment. I paused it right at the part whenever he was on the dirt bike getting chased by the 18-wheeler, and he was down into the culvert. He was down in the and he stops on his dirt bike, and it skids. Like, I remember this movie like it was yesterday. And he skids the back tire, and then James Cameron swings that camera right up on his face, and he turns back and looks over his left shoulder, and that's right before the 18-wheeler comes smashing down over the overpass. I paused it right there on that moment, and I called my mom in there, and I said, "Mom, this is how I want my hair to be cut." Because John Connor's hair had that one swoop, like right down over his right eye, and it was kind of longer in the front. And she was like, "Mikey, your hair is just too thick for that. It ain't going to do that." But you know what? Like a good mom, she let me try it anyway. And it did not work. But yes, you're right. We all were John Connor.
That's correct. Okay, go ahead, Mikey.
So my number 3 is The Godfather Part 2. I mean, it's kind of almost goes without saying.
Yeah.
Like when you think about best sequels, like some sequels just kind of are in that upper echelon where they're not even worth talking about because they're on like everybody's list. But if we had to make a definitive list for me, like the first one, there's nothing wrong with it. It's the American classic, if you ask me. But then when you get to the second one, it just takes everything that was the first one. I mean, a direct sequel, but also, I mean, this was 1974, so they added this cool prequel thing. So it had this dual, like, where he came from and then where the son is now. So you get to see the parallels of, a young Vito as Robert De Niro, who was incredible, and then you get to Al Pacino and then where he is at as the son. I mean, there's nothing really I can say about that. Everybody's seen it. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody say a bad word about it.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I mean, it's Godfather Part 2.
Yeah.
So
Godfather, excellent movie.
Nothing else to say about
Blair,
that.
you've seen Godfather, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. You were just quiet. I was worried.
He had this sheepish look on his face. Like
I was actually trying to remember if we were at number 3 or 4.
We're at number 3. Go for it, Blair.
Okay. Yeah, we're at number 3.
Right. Number 3. My number 3 is going to be Lord of the Rings: Two Towers.
Oh.
Now, and it's hard for me to say.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay,
let me just interject. Okay. Is it the regular version or the extended version? The theatrical version or the extended version? Or does it matter?
Well, I think I'm going to go with because I saw it in theaters and that was my memorable experience.
Okay.
Theaters.
Okay.
I did enjoy the extended cut though, very much.
You talk, and then I'm gonna blast your butt. So go.
Oh, we got a bunch of Tolkien haters here.
I love it.
Okay.
No, I love Tolkien, but I hate those movies. Flair, I disagree again. I cannot believe this.
We're talking about.
I especially disagree with Two Towers. I think it was the worst of them all.
I thought it was the worst as well.
The least.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But
I'm sorry, Flair. Please go ahead.
Yeah,
hold on. If we're talking about movies, I'm not gonna get. Two Towers to me was a most memorable theater experience and better than the sequel because of that 45-minute battle scene. It just never stopped. The battle scenes in the castle. I love Two Towers. I thought, if you want to get technical, I think Lord of the Rings: Fellowship of the Ring was a better movie. It was more cohesive, and I think it followed a little bit more. But Two Towers was a better movie to go see.
All right, I'm not really gonna blast you, but like I agree with Matt. Like Two Towers is the weakest of the 3. But the reason I asked the extended version because the extended version actually gets more right. Like, I mean, there's more there.
It really does.
The extended version is a much better version than the.
But I have to, if I'm gonna, the reason,
theatrical release, in my opinion.
If I'm gonna be genuine, I have to say the theatrical because this is the one I think about when I think about.
But I'm not a hater. Like I loved all 3 of those movies.
And I have watched these.
As a matter of fact, I have been on record before, and I will go on record again right now saying, as a whole, the original 3 Lord of the Rings movies, in my opinion, are better than the original 3 Star Wars movies.
Let's hear a basis for that theory, though.
It's just kind of like what you said. Like, they're just better movies in general. Overall, like where I was at my time in my life, and I watched those 3. Just that overall scope of all, like, 12 hours of that, it was just incredible.
I love Matt's face throughout this whole thing.
Chest slap him. That's blasphemy. All right, so my number 3 happens to be number 3, Toy Story number 3, as sequels go.
Sure.
And I love all the Toy Stories. They seem to have gotten better in my opinion, but Toy Story 3 really hit off and did better because it already had high expectations when it was coming out.
Yeah.
And it not only met, but it exceeded every expectation I had for a sequel.
Well, that's a rare case, too, because you have the first movie, which is phenomenal, and then started an entire company. The second one comes out, and it's better than the first one. And then the third one comes out, and it's better than the second one.
Years later.
Yeah, years later.
Years later, too. Toy Story 1 and 2 readily came out about the same time.
Yeah.
3 came out a lot later, and you're thinking, well, that's probably not, it's going to hurt the franchise. No, they actually did better and exceeded anyone's expectations.
And it's amazing how those movies grew with you.
Yeah.
Like, they really
you kind of grew up with Andy.
You grew up with Andy.
Yeah.
And then you get there at number 3, and you, like...
Anybody like us that collected toys and were young boys, playful, that type of stuff. I guess girls probably would go through that too. But when you get a little bit older, you all know that feeling of like having to get rid of things,
leave it behind,
and having to leave like your childhood behind, and you really don't want to.
Wait, you guys don't play with action figures anymore?
I do now.
Oh, okay.
And what he's forgetting to mention is you go to another part where you're like, screw it.
Exactly. There's a time in between like 18 and 18 years old in 2 months.
Yes,
exactly.
exactly.
Where you think you want to be grown up, but then you realize, no.
2 months later, you're like, screw this.
As I sit here and I stare at Matt's pet Ewok in the corner.
That's right. Quit staring at him. Okay, anyway,
Keep
number
staring at me.
Number 2, Mike.
My number
Addressing me with
2
his eyes.
is, and we're getting to the nitty gritty here. My number 2,
Yeah, we're getting down.
the reason I kept my mouth shut a little bit earlier with you is Terminator 2.
Okay.
I mean, that movie,
right.
to me, like, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up when I think about that, yes. Like, that movie is perfection to me. I love James Cameron, like you said, the original, great science fiction movie. Some of the special effects don't hold up in the sense of holding up, but if you think about 1984, they work. I mean, the scene in the first one whenever he's, taking his eyeball out in the mirror, like, it's really cool stuff.
It's a great pizza movie, is what I like to call it.
It's just, but it's dark too. But when you get to the second one, it's just much more popcorny. So he took a little bit of the darkness away, but at the same time, like it just built a great world. And we talked last week or 2 weeks ago about Jurassic Park, and how like Jurassic Park put special effects on the map. Terminator 2 was the one that made everybody like, wait a second, this stuff is real. This stuff is here to stay.
That movie fires on all cylinders.
It does fire on all cylinders. I mean, it is perfectly paced. I'm such a huge James Cameron fan, and I like that you have 2 James Cameron movies in your top 10.
I do.
Top 5.
I do.
Yeah, but you can't deny Aliens, and you can't deny Terminator 2. Like, it's just one of those movies.
Go, Flair.
Number 2, Rescuers Down Under.
Woo! That's a great movie.
That is actually.
Yeah, that's a great number 2.
That is actually a fantastic and insightful pick. Flair, you finally got my approval.
I was about to say, you tell me that you liked Rescuers better than Rescuers Down Under.
I cannot say that.
As great as Rescuers was.
Rescuers was a good
How could
movie.
it possibly get any better? Rescuers Down Under.
That's right. 1990. And what's cool about that movie is that Disney started coming back with Little Mermaid in '89, and so Rescuers Down Under it never gets any like playtime really because it's sandwiched in between Little Mermaid and then Beauty and the Beast and then Aladdin and then Lion King, but it was right in the middle of those.
It was the precursor in between Black Cauldron, which Disney had been going darker and darker and darker, and they said, hey, look, we need to lighten it up a little bit. So they went with a Rangers thing. Well, actually, The Great Mouse Detective, I think, came out after that.
That's
and
also
started turning it back to a lighter side.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Rescuers Down Under is when they started hitting their groove.
Yeah.
Well, with computer graphics inside the cartoon as well. And then they jumped to Little Mermaid, which took off from there again. But no, Rescuers Down Under, fantastic.
I loved all the characters. Goanna was probably one of my favorites.
Oh, my goodness.
That's a great movie, man.
I didn't make it past the 3rd grade for nothing. I can still. Oh, I've been skewered. That's fantastic.
Wasn't it John? Did John Candy voice the Albatross?
It wasn't John Candy. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but
I don't remember.
Anyway, the whole time where they're turning him around about to shoot the shotgun shots into him. Ready? No, I'm not ready. Aim. Oh, please don't aim. Fire. I've been skewered. Fantastic film. Good job.
Yeah, love it.
My next one on a list that's not in order here would be Army of Darkness. Of course, as you know, it is the sequel to the Evil Dead movies, which, by the way, I think each one of those movies got better as they came out.
How do you choose?
But Army of Darkness, oh my goodness. The comedy was over the top.
You're right.
But it was perfectly placed over the top. It has that, the old Clash of the Titans claymation skeleton fight.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree.
Yes, like the Jason and the Argonauts type of skeleton stop motion.
It's fantastic. Everything about that film is fantastic. It's still fun. The effects are a little cheap now. You kind of laugh at them, but you know what? It's still a good movie.
And one of the most quotable movies, I think, and still to this day quotable. Like I know you have like those movies that when you watch, you just get a certain part of pop culture, like a puzzle. Piece fits in the puzzle. For me, Casablanca was one of those, and also was Army of Darkness, because you have those quotes like play it again, Sam, and all that stuff that you just don't get until you watch the movie. Army of Darkness is one of them. Fantastic pick. Fantastic pick.
Yes, it is.
It is. Yeah, okay. So go ahead for numero uno, Mikey.
Number 1. You don't even have to say it. I mean, it's Empire Strikes Back. There's other podcasts like the Princesses of the Universe that'll probably talk more about this, but I'm not even going to say anything about it. I'm actually going to keep my mouth shut and just say Empire Strikes Back.
One of my favorite Empire Strikes Back conversations was actually Kevin Smith's Clerks.
Oh, sure.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Anyway,
I have something to say on that, though.
Okay.
Empire Strikes Back is a great sequel. It is. That works so well as a trilogy, though. I cannot pick between those three movies. I get constantly asked, what's your favorite movie out of the three? It may be Episode 4 for me, personally. And Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, works well, but you got to have an ending to it. And Return of the Jedi gives it its ending, which I think those two movies do well together. Now, that's just my opinion. Everyone loves Empire Strikes Back, and rightfully so. It is a fantastic film. But for me, it's just like I cannot separate those in my head in a certain order of which ones were best.
It's tough. It's tough for us though to do that because we're so far removed from those. They are one collection of movies. I agree with you. Especially the first one is a perfect popcorn movie. By the end of it, when they're getting the medals and the music soars, like you just soar out of that theater. It's a perfect standalone movie. I think that Empire Strikes Back. You're right. It is the perfect middle movie to a trilogy.
It's perfect, yeah.
But like I said in the outset, like when I look at sequels, I think about the second one to an original. Is it better? It may not necessarily be better than Star Wars. It may be. That's all subjective for me. But you're right. At the very end, like it leaves you wanting more. So you're right. Like as a standalone movie, like you need that third part to complete it. But man, as far as second movies, no matter how many more are after it, you just don't get any better than that.
Yeah, and I can't agree or disagree with that's the comment I was trying to make. Okay.
Yeah. So we're at number 2 or 1?
Number 1.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Yes, Flair, this is going to be your number 1 pick. Numero uno.
All right. Rush Hour 2. It's a fantastic movie.
What?
Rush Hour 2. Rush Hour 2.
No. I like the Rush Hour movies. I love Jackie Chan, and I think that they're great. Like, just the look on your face, like you were so happy to say that.
Rush Hour 2.
What the Samoflange are you talking about?
Rush Hour 2. My favorite sequel.
Talk. Go.
Better than the original.
Sell me.
Sell me.
Okay. All right. Well, have you given Rush Hour and Rush Hour 2 a watch?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen them multiple times.
Okay,
They're fantastic.
Good. Rush Hour 1, fantastic. Jackie Chan comes to America, and you have Chris Tucker kind of showing him around. But what's even better than that? Getting Chris Tucker out of his element, bringing him to China. Chris Tucker doing his Michael Jackson impression at the beginning at the karaoke bar.
Yeah.
And then you have they're finally trying to bring down the big crime boss, the triads. And you have Jackie Chan who's trying to translate and keep Chris Tucker in line. He's like, I want all the triads over here and all the fine women on this side. And then Jackie Chan is going behind him translating. He wants men on the right, men on the left, women on the right, men on the left, or whatever he says. And it's just, that movie to me is better action scenes than the first one. And the first one had great ones. I'm a huge Jackie Chan fan because no one can do what he does.
That's right.
To me. No one
Wait.
No one does to...
No one can do to you what he does to you?
Yes, he excites me in every way.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it was more anticlimactic. Then I disagree. I don't disagree with it. I think
do you want me to keep talking about Rush Hour 2? Because
I think those movies are on par, but I don't disagree with you.
Right.
I just that was wild. That's your number 1 pick.
Let me tell you the basis of my theory, though. Rush Hour 2 is the one I've watched the most out of all this list. I've watched Rush Hour 2 like 40 times.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That was just not number 1.
No.
Now, I can talk about that because it's not number 1 since I didn't do them in order, but it is going to be anticlimactic as well because I don't even know if both of you have ever seen this movie. It's Tremors 2.
Yes, I have.
What?
Of course I've seen some Tremors 2. Some straight-to-DVD Michael Gross action.
I know.
Tremors 2?
Tremors
Matt,
2.
I thought about that making my list because I know you love Tremors.
And I love me.
Hold on a second.
Tremors
But you love the whole series, though, don't you?
I just
Hold
about
on.
the whole series I love.
You are going to sit there and chastise me for Predator 2, and then you're going to say Tremors 2 for your damn number 1?
Yeah,
I am gonna
he's
say
trying
that.
to say it's not number 1, but we know it's number 1.
Chest slap is coming. It's imminent.
Okay, I thought so. But I'm just going to say I laughed harder. The story was way more creative. First movie was creative, but they even went one step more and made it even more creative, added more humor, and it just worked. And I was blown away. We rented that as part of a back in the day, the video rental store, Video Giant.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Video Giant.
7 movies for $7 for 7 days.
Yeah.
Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so we had to get 7 movies. We had 6. We couldn't find a 7th one. I looked. I said, they made a sequel? And it must have gone straight to DVD. We're like, well, let's get it. Or VHS at the time.
Yeah.
And we grabbed it, and we watched it as one of the earlier ones because we didn't think it was going to be good. Oh, there was no other movie in that. I can't remember what the other 6 movies were that we rented that day. But to this day, Tremors 2, I went out and bought it.
Actually,
It was so good.
gentlemen, and anyone listening from the area, I believe that there is still a Video Giant in Columbia, Louisiana.
There may be. I work at Video Giant in Bastrop.
Legend tells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Video Giant.
There was legend of a Video Giant in a small town of Columbia, Louisiana. There were 3 men on a hunt for 7 movies, 7 days, $7.
Do they still do that deal?
I sure hope so.
Have y'all heard about Movie Pass?
What is that?
Movie Pass for $30
Oh, for the
a
theaters?
month. You get
Yeah.
unlimited movie theater pass tickets.
Woo!
Yeah.
And it's only for the Pecan Mall. All right, before we move on to best series overall, Mike, you had some honorable mentions, I believe you wanted to say?
Well, when we talk about best sequels, I mean, like, y'all said Spider-Man 2 and Aliens. I mean, there's a lot of movies out there that are good that just didn't quite make the list. Dark Knight, great. Desperado. Remember, that was a sequel to El Mariachi, and if he was a guy in the 90s, Desperado was great.
I like
That
Once
is a
Upon a
good
Time in
one.
Mexico
Yeah.
better, though.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Wrath of Khan. I mean, that's clearly
Yeah.
better than the first
That's a great
one.
one.
I mean,
That's a great one.
if I'd have thought of that, that'd have made my list,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, like it just cut out on my, like, X2 was better than the original X-Men, but then you got a lot of movies that are great, but maybe not quite better than the original. Lethal Weapon 2, Dawn of the Dead, Back to the Future 2, Rocky 2, 28 Weeks Later, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Batman Returns, Evil Dead 2, Blair Witch 2, Police Academy 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So there's a lot of great sequels out there back in the day that maybe aren't better than the first one, but they're still quality movies.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get to best series. Now, the definition of a series, it goes over 3 movies. It means it has to go 4 or more.
A franchise, if you will.
Franchise, if you will. Thank you.
Yeah.
That way it limited down, because if we were doing best trilogies, that is a discussion for a whole nother day. There are tons of good trilogies out there. But series, meaning going beyond the 3 movies, and Scream.
I agree.
All right.
The entire Scream series, 1 through 4, in my mind, is brilliant.
I agree with that. Now let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Scream 1 through 4 versus Mission Impossible 1 through 4.
I forgot about Mission Impossible. That's my B. There you go.
Yeah,
Mission
1A and
Impossible,
1B.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
1A and 1B, because Mission Impossible would also be
There's so many of those
fantastic.
out there that are getting 4th movies, 5th movies, but I agree with you with Scream.
That's correct.
And I stayed away from horror movies because we'll talk about horror movies later on in the year
Yeah.
because that's a lot of good stuff right there. But I agree. I remember we went to see Scream 4 a couple of years ago, and we were sitting there thinking, man, let's just hope this is half as good as the other ones. And it turned out to be fresh, fun, interesting. They picked on themselves yet again. Great.
And it's perfect.
It is perfect. And still very scary movies.
Oh, they're great. I watch them frequently.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, Flair.
Fast and Furious.
Oh, yeah. We knew that was going to happen because you're from Westwood Road.
You shut your mouth. I will sit there with my hot pocket and my hot dog watching Fast and Furious in my recliner chair eating my bag of Lay's potato chips while you're shopping around at the mall trying to get a new pair of shoes.
Hey, I like my new pair of shoes because they're going to walk me up to the ticket counter so I can buy a ticket for Furious 7.
Because I got a pair of boots I'm going to shove up your ass. If you don't think you like Fast and Furious as much as me.
Anyway. Anyway.
You called the beast and he came out. You summoned the beast.
Cliff, Cliff just walked out of here. He just walked in here and walked out.
Fast and Furious, probably not, in my opinion, probably not best series, but I'll be honest, I've enjoyed every single one. Even 3, which a lot of people dog, I enjoyed.
Tokyo Drift.
I
Tokyo Drift
enjoyed
was very
Tokyo
good.
Drift.
The weakest one I thought was the 4th one, but
The 4th was a bit weak. The 3rd one, everybody forgets, it's a different kind of racing.
Every
Racing's
single
the big
one,
deal in Tokyo.
Yeah, every single one, every one of them is a popcorn
They're
movie,
fun.
and I've enjoyed each movie.
yeah.
So
1B
I can
for
see
me-
where you say that.
1B for me, that's why I said, like, I should pick 1 because I think I'm going to have a lot in common with you guys for Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's great, man. You can't go wrong with those.
Mission Impossible, every single one of them.
If I had to pick one movie series, it would be the James Bond movie series.
Of course.
Wow, completely. You don't think there's a single bad one?
Oh, is that the criteria?
Well, yeah.
Like there can be, there's bad ones. I thought we were just saying like what's my favorite series.
Well, we just
Oh,
established
favorite
that there was a
series.
weak Fast and Furious, and that was still my favorite one.
I didn't think there was a weak passing.
You didn't think there was?
I mean,
No,
the reason I picked James Bond is because I'm thinking, A, I've got numbers on my side, but, yeah, when it comes to, there's 22, 23 of them, I could probably name 3 that I don't really like. Like, I love the Sean Connery ones. I'm one of those people that my favorite James Bond, it was Roger Moore. I love the Roger Moore ones. I love Man with the Golden Gun, The Spy Who Loved Me, Octopussy, Moonraker, those from like the late 70s and the early 80s. The 2 with Timothy Dalton aren't great, License to Kill and Living Daylights, but License to Kill is okay. It's just he's not really a cool James Bond. When you get to Pierce Brosnan, GoldenEye is one of the best in the series. Great. But then his other movies go down, like in my opinion.
Tomorrow Never Dies did not make
Tomorrow Never Dies. No. They're bad. But then when you get to Daniel Craig, like he's an incredible James Bond. So like through the years they've reinvented this character, and the movies have been really good in my opinion.
Until Daniel Craig, Connery was my favorite Bond.
Yeah. Most people like Connery. I get picked on a lot for liking Roger Moore, but I think it's just the inventiveness of those late 70s movies.
I liked Roger Moore movies, yeah.
Okay, so you've seen every James Bond movie, correct?
Oh, yeah.
All right. CJ, have you seen every James Bond movie?
I have not seen every James Bond movie. There's Timothy Dalton ones I have not seen.
Okay. You've seen just the newer. Have you seen Pierce Brosnan and others?
I've seen Brosnan, and I've seen Connery, and I've seen Daniel Craig.
Okay.
But I have not seen the Timothy Dalton ones.
Yeah, that was in the late 80s, and then there was On Her Majesty's Secret Service that was stuck in there. George Lazenby. I can't remember the exact date of that one, but it was early on.
Because I remember, I remember Daniel Craig was my favorite over.
And then there was actually an original Casino Royale from back in the day, which was kind of off of the source material, which was different than the remake.
How many movies are there total?
There's what,
22 or 23?
23, 24.
Well, you've seen about 8. Maybe?
But there's a new one coming out though, so wouldn't it be 24?
I think that's 24.
Well, that would be out right now.
Out of all the Bond movies, I would say I've seen 60% of them.
60%. Okay.
And that's why I couldn't say that it's like my favorite series.
Okay.
I mean,
no, that's fine.
Thanksgiving. Come on.
Are you ready?
Am I ready?
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
I haven't seen a single James Bond film.
Ever?
Whoa!
No.
That's a separate podcast.
I see. No, wait. Hold on. I see what you were doing there now. You've never seen. I mean, every Thanksgiving on TNT or TBS for years, they just showed the marathons of them.
Dude, never got an
Never
interest
seen
for
GoldenEye at least.
Never seen.
I mean, you were probably like 17 when GoldenEye came out. You've never seen any James Bond movie?
Not a single one.
How's that possible?
Not a single one. Never got an interest in him. I don't think they're bad movies. I'm pretty sure they're good. I just don't have an interest in seeing them. The Super Spy Act does not intrigue me.
But you like Mission Impossible.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
I'll tell you what. This would be my suggestion to you. Yeah, they're depending on the Bond, you have different movies. Obviously, we talked about that. They got Connery and then all guys and whatever. And throughout the years, they just have a different feel to them. I would suggest you watch the first Daniel Craig Casino Royale if you were going to watch any, because it takes James Bond back to his original roots, where he's less of a suave, sophisticated playboy type person, and he's a little bit more brutish. He's a little bit more action hero-esque, but it doesn't lose everything that James Bond is. That is a great movie.
Yeah, he's almost psychotic. Like, I love it.
Yeah, so if you like movies like Mission Impossible, you might like Casino Royale, like just as a standalone movie, and don't think of it as like a Bond movie, and there were like, 20 before that. If you just look at it as like just a movie independent of itself, it's fantastic.
Yeah, he's right. Yeah.
All right, so what is B series?
Oh my gosh. If I have a 1A and a 1B, my 1B for me, and I'll just say it and then we'll talk about it later, would be the Friday the 13th movies.
Okay. I can see that. And that is a discussion for another day.
Right.
Okay, folks, before we stop here, Flair has a question he wants to pose to the audience. Go ahead, Flair.
So last podcast I mentioned the Dragon Ball Z movie, and we got a comment from somebody who is a Dragon Ball Z fan. Now, I'm a huge fan of all the animation from the Land of the Rising Sun. So my question, if you can leave your comments, what's your favorite Dragon Ball Z movie? And I'll tell you mine next time.
Oh, look
I
at
like
that.
that.
So that's what's coming. We're also going to show you our worst sequels talk. Mm-hmm. And, of course, as always, answer your questions.
Yes. Wait.
Send them in.
What questions could people ask, Matt?
I don't know. Perhaps there could be 22% in your future, Mikey.
Boxers or briefs?
Oh, man. And mayonnaise or Miracle Whip?
Hello!
Crunchy or creamy peanut butter?
You'll just have to find out next week on Saturday Morning Samoflange.